Not understanding this simple concept could cost you everything in the long term. If you're selling your crypto without first considering what I'm talking about on this video, you might be making the biggest mistake of your life. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JT, and we are back to the Crypto Den. Today we have an exciting topic, really. This is one of the videos where I'm going to be able to kind of dive into my personal story, experiences that honestly lend itself to this kind of catchphrase, never sell your crypto or don't sell your crypto. Primarily because I have access to very wealthy people, and I am not that, but the investors in my fund have a lot of capital. And you know, this topic of never selling your crypto is something they talk about constantly with all of their assets. If you're holding a bag of Bitcoin or Ethereum and you're considering selling it because you want that liquidity, you might consider what your options are. None of this is financial advice, by the way. This is just for entertainment and education. If you were to keep your Ethereum and get a loan on it, or your Bitcoin and get a loan on it, you would not realize a tax event, and you would still be able to get the liquidity while holding those assets. It's a very common practice. It's done in real estate, but today we're going to talk about Ethereum specifically. I have another Bitcoin video on my channel about this, where you don't have to sell your Bitcoin. You can take a loan on it. We're going to get into the strategy of the wealthy and what they do, and I have personal friends and experiences, investors, clients that have made these exact decisions. Before we get into it, for those who don't know, my name is Jake Tullis. I go by JT, and I run a digital asset hedge fund called Bleeding Edge Capital out of Cincinnati, Ohio. This channel is where I document, my journey as a fund manager, and also just educating the public on my research so I can manage my fund transparently, because I find that to be very critical. And also, I think we all win together. So just helping you all be more educated on what this earth-shattering technology is can really help you navigate this industry better and make your own decisions, because I do not provide financial advice. I do have my chips pushed up at the biggest table possible, okay? I opened a fund back in 2023, so been doing this a while now. And today I want to share some high net worth individual game. And first guy, if you don't know who he is, and this is on my Facebook here, JT knows things on that as well. We post everything on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you like and follow us on all these places. But Robert just woke up today and felt like talking about this topic, and it inspired me to make this video, but also educate you on the Ethereum loans that just dropped a couple days ago from Coinbase. But before we get into that, this is exactly what we're talking about here. And this is a long post. We're not going to read it all. Take a look at this. I don't ever sell Bitcoin, gold, or silver. I hoard it. Okay, then he gets into stuff that really doesn't apply to you and I. I don't need money. I'm already wealthy, whatever. But the reality is, right here, he's talking about how, there we go, we hold, we stack, we use our assets to buy more assets, and we never ever pay taxes if we can avoid it. Stop selling Bitcoin. So right here, what he's talking about is taking a loan out on those assets like I talked about. Let's say you got $1 million of Bitcoin and your cost basis is $100,000. You have $900,000 of profit that the government is going to want a piece of. If you've held it longer than a year, which is likely at those returns, you're going to need to pay, if you're in America, 15% federal, and then whatever your state cap gains tax are, which could be, if you're in California, upwards of a third total that you would pay. So you'd be out, $300,000 or $200,000. And let's say you wanted to make an investment with that full million. So really you only have $700,000 sitting there, plus your principal. So it's $600,000. That's hard. So you're already down 40 points to sell it. Or you could take a loan for $600,000, 60% LTV. Those are your two choices. Pay 9% and then invest it in something that's making at least 12 or 15 or more. If you were to do that, you would be able to cover the cost of your capital, the 9%, and then pocket the rest. That's what Robert's talking about. And this has been, I would call it a wet dream of the crypto world. It's just been theory, really. I mean, Aave's been doing it for a long time, but now it is accessible to the non-technical people. You had to be technical to use Aave. I mean, realistically, they're not at a crazy market cap because they're, they just launched an app, but they're building their UX. I mean, I invest in infrastructure. I've been an investor in Aave for a long time. They are basically Ethereum's bank, digital bank. You can think of them that way. And you could get loans on your Ethereum through Aave. You still absolutely can, but it's not user friendly. Well, now this is what really brought me to this. You can take loans on Ethereum directly from Coinbase. The last part of this video is going to be exactly how that's possible, because there's some really cool information here that really demonstrates how crypto is a technology and not a money. Okay, it can be used as money, but it's not a money primarily. entirely. And I'm going to get into all of that because that's really my specialty. You know, in addition to running the hedge fund, I have almost 12 years of software experience, from development to deployment to testing, running teams, building teams, architecture, the list goes on. I've done it all, and I just love software. And that's really where the fund is born. It's my passion. And in that fund world, I have met some incredibly intelligent, wealthy humans that have made decisions like Robert. I can give you a little example of my own, okay? I didn't do it with my crypto, but I did it with an insurance policy. Essentially, I have an insurance policy. I can take loans against it without taking any money out of the market. The loan is like 4%, and I took money out of that policy and bought into an oil fund, okay, which is just direct working interest in an oil deal. It's going to return 45% cash flow back every year, which will cover my cost of capital. I will break even on year 2. And then for the next 28 years, as long as that or it could be longer, really, I'll have infinite profits. And I was also able to take a loss from the investment because we had to buy the oil equipment, right? That's how the government incentivizes people to invest in the oil and gas industry. You could do the exact same thing on Coinbase. So if I had, let's just extrapolate this, you see it right here, $1 million of Ethereum. I can take 600K, we'll just make the math easy real quick. Let's just say I took 100K and I put it into that same oil investment. I'm going to be making $45,000 a year back, and the interest would only cost me $9,000 a year. So I'd be profiting $36,000 a year for every single 100,000 I put into that deal. And I would be getting right around 85K as a loss against my active income when I make that investment, which will reduce my tax burden. So I end up paying way less taxes that fiscal year. I put my capital to good use, right? It's being productive, contributing to our GDP and our energy infrastructure, and I get a return for taking that risk. And it covers my cost almost 4x. You don't have to sell your crypto. And the people that really make a lot of money, they rarely sell an asset. It's usually either they genuinely are at the end of their career and they just want to put all their chips in and enjoy whatever it is. So they're just like, I just want liquidity. Or it could be they're forced to sell something, but it's something they don't like doing. That example with the ETH, we're going to explain that. Coinbase is able to offer this through a token that I love. I talk about it on this channel all the time, Morpho. Morpho is what makes this possible. Now, what Morpho does, which I believe is super interesting, they license, sell, provide access, tools, software development kits or SDKs. There's lots of different things that they provide, but at the end of the day, it is infrastructure. So I want you to pay attention to how they're marketing it. Embed custom earned products. Give your users access to yield on any asset. And look at their partners, wallets, exchanges. Pretty neat, right? So what they offer is basically, hey, you want to be your own bank? We can give you all of the rails to do that. All the logic, all the smart contracts, everything you need to be able to offer loans and be your own bank, we can provide. And the main reason is they do one-to-one loans. So they build individual pools of people, right? It's not even a pool. It's like I have 28,000 users with, let's go to my picture. Okay. So this is how Morpho works. You have one individual on Coinbase that has a bunch of USDC. Coinbase lets them know that they can get yield by loaning their USDC. This gentleman puts in, we'll call him Bob. Bob puts in all the terms he's willing to do. So 60% LTV at 10% over 6 months, 6 years, whatever. He puts that term into Coinbase. We'll call you Sam. Okay. Sam has Ethereum. Instead of selling and giving money to the IRS, he wants to do what we just talked about, get a loan on his Ethereum. You can go look at the terms being offered by all of these people. Okay. There's going to be a crazy amount of them because who doesn't want yield on stablecoins? Especially if I just locked in profit on a trade and I want to get some yield while I think the market's like hasn't really decided which way it's going, kind of like a situation we're in right now. You can go through and pick which loan you like, and then boom, you get liquidity through Coinbase, guys. Coinbase. Now look at Morpho as integrated by Coinbase. On Morpho's own site, they're telling you about how it works with Coinbase. And you can even use it for Bitcoin, which is really neat. But what they do is they wrap the collateral using the Morpho smart contracts right here. Then you can borrow the liquidity from the users on the other side, and it gets distributed through the Coinbase app right back to the user. So for the first time in history, if you've been holding for a long time waiting for this, if you're that educated, you now can do it thanks to Morpho. I hit on this a lot. Look at the deposits and loans. That's really important because if I go to Aave and I go check out their deposits and loans, if you want to see how much room this thing, by the way, look at that, 9%, up to $1 million, similar to Morpho and Coinbase here. 3.23 trillion of deposits cumulative in their history. Currently managing 53 billion and 125 billion. This was 300 billion not too long. And these are the rates. That's what you can get for stable coins, and that's what you can get. That's what you can pay for Ethereum. So they're pocketing the difference. Beautiful technology, making money. But look at all of that. 8.9 billion compared to, it's a crazy number, 3.2 trillion. That's how much room Morpho has to go, and they're partnered with the largest American exchange for sure. So I have a lot of long-term belief in Morpho and what they're doing. I think it's making decentralized finance completely accessible to individuals that might be in that situation we talked about in the beginning, where you're sitting on a lot of capital, but you don't want to experience that tax burden. Coinbase is here to help, and so is Morpho. That's generally the take here. And it's really important for you guys to understand that if you've made money in crypto and you also have an opportunity and you're considering, and it doesn't have to be those crazy numbers. I mean, if you're up $10,000, $20,000, but you need a new vehicle and, you know, it needs a $5,000 deposit, that could be a great situation. You could get a 25%, you know, LTV loan if you have 20 grand, right? So you would get $5,000. You would pay 9% on the down payment, and then you'd actually have to pay the car note, which would be not great. But if you were going to buy the car cash, you would have to get rid of your crypto. So you wouldn't have it. That future, whatever you were believing in, it would be gone, right? Whatever your long-term conviction would be, you'd have to then accumulate the position at higher prices, make you feel not great. And then you'd have to pay, if you've held it longer than a year, you're in the same position where you're going to pay, let's just say it's 15% no state. You're still going to end up paying 10 to 3. So you have 17,000 left if you're lucky enough. That was 20% total, 5% cap gains long-term in Ohio. You know, maybe you're out another 3,000. So I mean, maybe you got $16,000 and you can buy the car cash, but you have no more ETH. Or you could do what I just said. I don't think it's a good practice, personally, in my opinion, to finance a down payment on a vehicle unless you absolutely have to. But I also think it's a bad decision to sell your ETH. These are hard choices, but the cool thing, and this is what I really want to drive home, is you don't have to sell your crypto. There are other options, and they're extremely relevant, and they're in the forefront of the user experience in crypto now. So you have all these options. Selling may not be the right one. You just have to do the math. And maybe I could do another video like that. So if you guys want to see the math on when it makes sense and when it doesn't for your own personal, you know, uses, let me know. I could do a deep dive into that because it's really important for you guys to grasp what I'm talking about. The best way to take a loan on any asset is to buy another asset that covers your cost of capital. In my situation, the oil did more than, you know, I had a multiple of covering my cost of capital. And that's just because the insurance loan is just an amazing tool. That's not what this channel is really about, but I could make a video on policies like that. I could have a guest that talks about them on the podcast. If you guys are interested in that as well, let me know in the comments. But I'll do one more example. I really want to drive it home. If it doesn't even matter if it's crypto, like if you have a primary residence and you have $100,000 of equity in that home and you want to maybe, I don't know, franchise a Subway, you can franchise a Subway, commercial lease, finance the equipment, get the actual rights, all for about 100 grand for Subway. It's one of the cheaper, lower entry things. And they usually make a couple hundred grand in the first year, gross. So you could make about what you put in year one, and then you own a business, right? So if you have a job and you also have a house and you'd like to invest in a cash flowing business, that would make sense. You could take a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. That's going to be, right now, it's probably 5%. It's Fed fund plus 50 bips or something. It's one of the best loan terms you can get from your bank is a HELOC because it's collateralized by the house that you live in. Then you take that 100,000, go get a Subway. Let's say it pays you. You gross 400, you net 100. You could literally pay off your line of credit the first year and then now have a Subway for the next 20, 30 years. Give it to your kids. By year 3, you could buy one just from that first one. And you could do a mix of the HELOC, maybe 50-50 of cash. So you pull 50K year 2, keep 50K in the business, take 50K from the HELOC, boom, get another one, pay down the HELOC, and now you have 150K. Or you could just do 100K from the second one, use it to get a third one, and then pull, you know, like you can play Monopoly. If you take a loan on an asset to buy cash flow that can cover the cost of that loan and pay back, there's very little risk there unless you pick the wrong spot for the Subway. Like there's all these, like, you need to be business minded, but you know, that's how the wealthy get wealthier. When you have assets instead of liabilities, you then use those assets to buy more assets that pay for the assets to buy more assets. And you get into this cycle. And it's slow at start, smaller figures, but if you were to just throw a zero on anything we've talked about, you can see how the wealthy just have endless options. And Morpho on Coinbase is democratizing that, giving anyone access to this tool. And I'm just super excited about it because accessibility is a big value proposition of this technology. It's a big value proposition. The fact that someone, eventually you're going to have microloans, and like you could just reduce the zeros in a third world country to, maybe spend, I don't know, a few grand on a building. I don't know anything about those worlds, but I do know the dollar goes very far, right? So they don't need nearly as much capital. And in crypto, you can go down to the 10th, 12th decimal and have all these microtransactions, and it can fractionalize the dollar to a point that makes it accessible for people in those areas. And eventually you'll be able to take loans on $100 if that's where you're at. You got to start somewhere. I hope you learned something. I hope this was valuable. Until next time, take care of one another.